A black arc is a strange place for Chaos and the Lizardmen to fight. I'm sure there's a tyrant above somewhere, attended by his slaves, eating grapes, flaying some poor chap alive, and enjoying the show down below. You know, just dark elf things. But quite a spectacle awaits. The Mountain God, the Herald of the Tempest, firstborn of Kraken Rock the Black, and the mightiest Shaggoth of an age, Kholek Suneater, leads a war band against their oldest enemy. Nakai the Wanderer and a Kroxigor rush, stomping their way towards victory or doom. And soon, a kaiju clash for the ages will erupt, oh so far from home. Domination time on Immortal Empires, and Kholek Suneater has a new coat of paint, his very own sub-faction, updated visuals and effects, and even some new abilities. But he's the same old character you love, born and bred to beat down dinosaurs. Starkusher and Lord of the Storm have not changed, but Tempest Rage pushes him even further beyond his already lofty expectations. And when he gets them all popping off, he is going to beat down dinos harder than just about anyone else in the game. He has Wave Clear, he has Terror, he can trash pretty much anything into a bloody pulp. He's joined by 2 Hellstriders and a host of Chaos Warriors, some shielded, some great weapons, some halberds. Down at point number 3, some additional mobility tools already coming out to play. Throwing axes in response to the Arc of Sotek, and a fight over all 3 points, pretty much straight from the jump. Hellstriders could be really good here. They can easily position to get themselves in front of a skink, prevent them from getting to the point, and with flanking and rear charges, they can straight up take them off the field almost instantly. Now for the Lizardmen, Pawok Sentinel Pterodons overhead, doing a bit of scouting alongside the Heaven's Caster, Curse of the Midnight Wind, and Comet of Cassandora for the Wave Clear, and the Red Crested Skink, Kroxigor Death Ball following up not far behind. Cohort of Sotek, Double Nile Crocodile, Basilodon ready to revivify, and Nakai the Wanderer, Primal Roar, Miasma of Despair, and Golden Tributes for Perfect Vigor in an AoE. You won't beat Kholek in a straight up fight, but it can certainly hurt him, and has some additional utility that the Shaggoth perhaps does not possess. Now, the Lizardmen are considered very good in Domination right now. I think most people currently have them in high A, low S tier, certainly in that upper echelon, and it's for a lot of reasons, but a big one is that they can just spam an obscene amount of fast, low-tier fodder to swarm objectives. Lizardmen infantry spam in general can be very difficult to get off a point, and naturally they have some good cheap terror with units like the Arc of Sotek to clear enemy infantry off of VP as well. So they are not lacking tools, but we'll see how things shake out here. Manticore summon in response to the Pawok Sentinels, ready to chase them off the map if possible. Arc of Sotek and some Sora Spears moving in to point number 3. So there will be a lot of fighting on every single objective at the start of this match, but I think the Lizardmen are going to get aggressive because they have a lot more speed, at least on foot. And a common tactic for them to utilize that maneuverability is to drown you in bodies and keep you trapped on your own natural. So a lot of pressure on the Hellstriders here, because flank and rear charges from them will be the most efficient way to force the Lizardmen off point 1 and back towards their own spawn. As for Kholek, just let him beat down some crocodiles and he'll be left in life. Momentary lapse on the Pterodons, but they'll escape without losing a single model. They're functionally going to be useless now anyway with the Manticore present. It's not even worth the microtax to control them. Maybe try to get a nice drop rock somewhere and then resummon to get some of their value back. But here comes that spawn of Tepok push, and it will be a painful one for the Chaos Warrior front line. Red Crescent Skinks trade well into Chaos Warriors in general, but with Kroxigor stomping in from behind, it'll be even worse. So Chaos needs to get a little bit fancy on the front line here, and there will be a lot of baiting on both sides. Charge in, retreat, Chaos Warriors giving up some ground in the middle, which will line up for a beautiful flank charge from the Hellstriders. And look at that, Cohort of Sotek down to half HP from a single Hellstrider charge. And Kholek Suneater baited Nakai into some halberds too, so pretty good start. Hellstriders able to move in from the flanks and get some rear charges off, as Lord of the Storm drops down Lightning Bolt from Mount Olympus, frying a few Red Crescent Skinky boys. And there's a Comet of Cassandora as well. Kholek Suneater just popped Herald of the Tempest, going in for a duel with Nakai the Wanderer, and a big time Comet of Cassandora dropping down from the heavens, exploding almost a full unit of Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and that was all set up by the beautiful charge from that Revivification Crystal Basilodon. Really well played from both players already. There have been some really nice micro plays already on both sides. Cohort of Sotek, forced to pop, refused to die when they were baited into a devastating flanker charge by that Sineshi Light Cav. Kholek already making his presence felt, and the bombardment from the Heaven's Caster, deleting most of a Chaos Warrior unit. Action-packed beginning, and now we're going to see who can take a value lead in this grind as Nakai the Wanderer lays about with his Sacred Standard, and Kholek Suneater stomps back in for the duel. The one issue with baiting some of the skinks onto this point, though, especially after this Chaos Warrior was deleted, is that with their high model count and capture weight, if they get enough bodies, they might be able to take command of the objective, and grabbing that back might be hard because Chaos is going a little bit elite here. They don't have a lot of Marauders or Forsaken on the field, at least not yet. It has been a Chaos Warrior front line. And the Bastiladon Ark of Sotek was responded to with some Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. They should be able to get a lot of really nice volleys in. I do not know if a single unit has enough ammunition to kill off a single dinosaur. We'll see, but either way, should be able to get it pretty low with those armor-piercing volleys. And there is some terror routing for the Chaos Warriors as Kholek sets his eyes on the Bastiladon, licking his chops, because an isolated Ankylosaur means it has chosen death. And an interesting fight brewing near the top of the map as Mark of Tzeentch Chaos Spawn slam home. Kroxigor Death Bowl is holding up very well. They've taken some rear charges from the Hell Striders, but they've weathered that storm, and they are getting some healing from the Revivification Crystal while it stays alive, but I'm not sure how long it will be able to last in a duel with Kholek Suneater. That freak has 28 bonus versus large, and pretty much hits the melee attack cap once Herald of the Tempest is active against large targets. So it looks like point number 1 is beginning to swing in favor of the Lizardmen, and they might be able to cap it soon. Chaos Warriors, a lot of them have routed off, which is a big problem. They need more bodies here, and the Children of the Old Ones might be able to get the triple cap soon, because it looks like point number 3 is beginning to turn as well, and they have a lot more infantry down there. Ark of Sotek in and amongst a bunch of Saurus and Skinks, really good idea. You can use that poisonous snake wave clear to just get rid of a ton of the infantry, and though throwing axes were a great idea and have dealt a tremendous amount of damage to the Bastiladon, it has managed to clear out a lot of this point, and terror routes should be imminent for the Chaos Warriors down there. But the Lizardmen have lost some important units. They're going to lose their Revivification Crystal. I don't think it will be able to survive, and Forsaken was definitely the right play, because 1, they'll be able to close onto the objective faster than regular Chaos Warriors, and 2, they will perform better and quicker against Skinks, which is what you need to avoid here if you're Chaos, is just getting overwhelmed by numberless hordes of Skinky boys. That's why we're seeing the Poison Warhounds come out. That's why we're seeing the Hellstriders come out. That's why we're seeing the Forsaken, and the point, I think, is beginning to swing back in the favor of Chaos now that the Halberds have returned and the Manticore is ready to charge in. Yes, that Bastiladon will fall, probably one more swing here, though it has shattered. No reason to invest any more time in trying to kill it. Nakai the Wanderer coming in for the duel with Kholek Suneater. Marauder Horseman moving up from the bottom point. And Chaos has stabilized here with an early lead, 2,100 VPs to 1,200, mostly because they had control of point number 3 for quite a long time. And Nakai the Wanderer has completely overextended. Herald of the Tempest activated. Kroxigor will pop his Primal Roar for the melee attack and physical resistance. Manticore still unable to land. I think there are still some holdovers from before some of the later patches in Warhammer 3. I think this build isn't fully merged, which is why we're seeing some of the older issues crop up again. I imagine they'll be fully merged by the time the Champions of Chaos DLC is active, or we get any early access Immortal Empires builds. We'll see. But regardless, the Manticore is able to pin Nakai down, even though not landing any attacks, and Nakai not gonna drop here. It looks like he's able to escape through his own Kroxigors, but he got his ass beat in about 5 seconds flat, and that could be a big loss for the Children of the Old Ones, because now the Kroxigors are isolated, fully surrounded by Forsaken, Halberd soon to close in as well, and of course, the Mountain God and his 28 bonus versus large. And the Spawn of Tepok might have overextended with their entire army. Kroxigors are all dead. Nakai the Wanderer is probably going to fall to Kholek Suneater as well, and it's at this point that they will start beating that retreat horn and fall back to their own natural. A couple of Skinks might sacrifice their lives for a bit of control and just to slow down the Chaos advance, but now is the time for the Warriors of Chaos and the Mountain God to get aggressive. They're probably a good 1,500 to 2,000 damage value ahead, and that's a relatively big lead this early in the game. Some resummoning to make sure they can get more bodies on the field once those come off cooldown. And thinking about letting Nakai live, but ultimately deciding against it. Kholek has plenty of speed to close the distance and finish him off for good. I do wish Domination replays would show the damage value. I think that's really important information so you have a good idea of who's leading on that front. It's not the be-all and end-all of Dom, of course, as Nakai has one last spank to give and disappears into the earth forever. It's a sad, ignoble end for a beautiful crocodile man. Perhaps a bit overzealous from the Marauder Horsemen and the Poison Warhounds. Went for a hammer and anvil on the Skink cohort without the anvil. And they got actually a full volley of poisonous javelins to the rear. And that killed off like half the unit. Pretty insane. Throwing axes moving in from the flank could rack up some good value against those Saurus spears. And Kholek Suneater is now threatening the natural for the children of the old ones, but they've been in control of point number 3 for a while because of that Arc of Sotek, and they are about to take the lead. 2895 to 2850. Chaos is going to try to contest both points, but that does run the risk of spreading themselves a little bit too thin as we move into the mid and late stages of this battle. Comment of Cassandora from the Heavens Caster, going to clip the edge of those Forsaken and take out about half of their remaining HP, but they dodge the worst of those effects. Forsaken have been spawned in, moving towards point number 3, and look at this gorgeous Lord of the Storm. Now, you could wait until they blob up around the Shaggoth himself, and if you were able to land a Lightning Strike when they fully surround you, you'd probably deal more damage that way, but that's more to be expected of how you typically use the spell, and it's probably easier to dodge once that unit is engaged in combat and you have time to settle in. So in this situation, catching them when they're on the sprint, they've been given an attack order and left to their own devices. Well, killing 7 or 8 models before they even close into combat is a pretty big deal. And these are not the Spear Rider variant, so they're not going to do amazing versus Kholek anyway. They're just trying to keep him off the point and accrue some damage value while the rest of the Skink cohort charge in and start protecting the point. Manticore still chasing Crocscores off the map, needs to get its ass over here, needs some additional terror to start clearing off some of the chaff from this point. Throwing axes are moving around the flank, and there are some Marauder Horsemen still waiting for a hammer and anvil. Forsaken and Chaos Warriors trying to get through the Saurus Spears as the Arc of Sotek moves in to keep them off of objective number 3. And it's 3,500 for yellow, 3,300 for the Chaos Warriors. Hammer and anvil will see the Cold One Riders off. And is that another comment of Cassandora? It is. And Skink Heavens Caster has been busy, dropping big time bombardments all game long, but they will mostly dodge its effects, not because they dodged out of the way, but because they got a little bit unlucky on the RNG, and the bombardment dropped a little bit to the right of where it was expected to fall. Big charge from the Marauder Horsemen, trying to keep all these Skinks off the point, but not able to do so in time. And now Kholek has to kind of transition into a more wave clear type of role, using that terror, using that Lord of the Storm to clear all these bodies off the point. And this is where you'd really like to see a Fire Sorcerer, some Burning Head or Piercing Bolts of Burning, to just get rid of all this chaff in 1 or 2 spells. Now the Forsaken and Chaos Warriors can kind of afford to ignore the Arc of Sotek, and if they just push on to the objective, they might be able to cap it outright. The question is, can they do it in time? Kholek is indeed having the time of his life right now. He has been an absolute monster, a freak of nature all game long. Another Lord of the Storm proc, this time into a horde of Skink cohort and killing dozens of models with that Lightning Strike. Really well positioned, and Chaos is set up here for a final push. Chaos spawn, Mark of Tzeentch, Hellstriders, Mark of Slaanesh, and the Manticore all closing in, and if they can get here in time, they might be able to get a triple cap and take all 3 objectives at once, which would of course position them to take this battle. 4,300 to 3,600, double cap is in favor of the Lizardmen for now, but with the cav coming in from all sides and a lot of terror on the way for the Chaos Warriors, these Skinks might not be able to last very long, and there are some bodies here on the Lizardmen natural to push them back and complete a pretty epic counter advance. And Chaos is about 3,000 damage value ahead, which is equivalent to almost the price of 2 full Shaggoths, or at least 2 full Dragon Ogres. So they are leading quite a bit in terms of unit power. Arc of Sotek is still alive. Chaos has not invested much in trying to kill it, honestly, but they are going to be able to cap point number 3, it looks like, as long as they're able to push past the box and prevent those Red Crested Skinks from closing onto the objective. Chaos Warhounds with Poison, fighting alongside Kholek Suneater, debuffing the stats of all these skink cohort as the Hellstriders charge in with their devastating flanker and immediately cause a chain rout. Cold One Riders have returned, but also terror routing. And now Chaos is looking really strong on this objective. Chameleon Skinks are about to rout. Sora Spears are off the point entirely. And objective number 2, the natural for the Lizardmen, is falling to the forces of Chaos, but they're at 4850, and if a point isn't captured right now, Chaos is just going to lose this game to Trickle. They're still working on point number 3. It's about to be capped. The triple cap is on the way for Chaos. Can they get it in time? And the answer is no. Crazy. Lizardmen are able to take it despite being about 3,500 damage value down. Absolutely wild match. Definitely some mistakes on both sides and some things that I'd like to share about Dom in general that I'm not the biggest fan of. I definitely should have brought a caster this game. Burning Head, Piercing Bolts of Burning, Pit of Shades, what have you. Anything for some wave clear would have been pretty huge for me pushing on to that final objective. The reason I didn't was just because of cost. I wanted to have more bodies. I wanted to have more cap potential. I think there is some potential for trade-off there. A 900 gold caster does take up a unit slot. It does prevent me from getting more infantry on the field. That can be problematic. It's not guaranteed that your caster will be able to land his spells. Skinks are pretty good at dodging those kind of things. They have a lot of maneuverability. And I probably should have just completely forgone objective number 3 and focused all my attention on point number 2, gotten that double cap earlier, and then used that to control the flow of the game pretty much till the end. I don't think he would have been able to swing up from point 3 to take my natural. There are certainly some things I could have done differently to win this one. But the capture rate for super fast, cheap fodder units like Skinks still feels kind of funky to me. I feel like I out-microed, out-traded, and pushed at the correct times. As I said, I had a 3,500 damage value lead by the end, and I had significantly more value on the objectives, and I still wasn't able to cap in time. So I still feel like a unit of Chosen, for example, should be able to out-cap a Skink, and currently that's not the case. It's only expendable troops like zombies and skeletons that have less capture weight, but Skinks aren't expendable, so they don't have that issue. And you can just swarm a point with them and just make it very difficult for someone to cap it. And it's why throwing infantry at a objective works so well in its current form. And so I feel like on some of these maps, just the spamming of infantry in the late game to get onto a point doesn't always feel super good. It can feel and lead to those anticlimactic situations. But I do think that it was an interesting build from Lizardmen. I think they played well overall. And it was a really fun game that almost ended in a triple cap, but not quite. Children of the Old Ones were able to hold out. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.